Welcome friends, it is I, LostScarf, and it's time for the beginner's guide to the free gods. That's right, this is as niche as it gets. This is for the first gods you play in this game. How many people are actually going to see this guide who have not played these gods, I don't know, which is why I need everyone to share this with new players when they see them, so they get a better idea of how to play these gods. The idea here is to give information to new players they might not notice, not even after a couple hours of playing the game, so that they can get better with them, and just basic ideas. I'm going to throw a lot of knowledge out there, but I'm going to omit a lot as well, because I don't want to overwhelm, but I want to inform as best I can. It's going to be a bit of a weird guide as we go with this one, but I just really want to help people, because a couple people have asked me information for the free gods, and so this is what the guide's for, to help people get better at the free gods, at least in some way. Now a quick disclaimer here, we have beginner god guides for more specific information for every god, and we're still working on those, so those are coming up as they come out. This is a basic knowledge about each god going on here, at least for the 5 free gods. We're not going to go over build or arena, we're going to go over basically how they kind of play, some combos you can do with them, and what they do in Conquest, at least in their main role. Some of these gods can be experimented with other roles, but we're just going to go over their main role and what they can do. But as you get better at the game, you can experiment and do whatever you want with them. First up, we're going to talk about Thor. Now, he is an assassin in this game, and generally he's played in the jungle, so he'll probably be your first jungler as you play this game. Now, we have a guide for jungling, which has a lot of good information for you to understand the mindset of a jungler, so you can do well with that. But generally what you're doing is you're farming in the jungle, you are ganking lanes, or at least putting pressure on them to help your lanes do well, so you can keep them healthy, and just all around just trying to keep the enemy team down by beating them up or sending them back to their base. Now, as Thor, his abilities are pretty interesting. Now, his passive, when he's around enemy gods, up to 3 of them, he gets stronger, which means his basic attack and his abilities hit harder. So you can take advantage of that and be a little tank early on, or you just hit a lot harder if you put more power on him early on. Now, his hammer, when he throws it out there, you can hit his ability again to teleport towards your hammer, so you can use it as escape or to get closer to your enemy. But since it's a boomerang, it hits twice. And on the second hit, when it comes back, it does double damage towards enemy gods. It does half damage to minions, so you can still use it for clear if you want, but it's really good for beating up enemy gods. Then there's his second ability, which is the Tectonic Rift. Now, this is a wall he puts in front of him. You can use it to cut off your enemies from your teammates. You can use it to trap an enemy. You can also hit them directly with it to stun them. One trick that you can do is you throw your hammer and you stun them, and the hammer will hit them twice as they're being stunned, and you can just basic attack or hit them with your spin to hurt them for more damage. And that's your third ability, your spin. You spin around and do a bunch of damage. It's really good for clearing. It's really good for just hurting enemy gods, especially in a group. And that's really what it is, just bread and butter damage. Then there's his ultimate, where he flies up into the sky, and then he lands wherever you want him to land, and he does damage there. It has a limited range, but it's a pretty good long range that he has there. And wherever he lands, he stuns and does damage. So when he stuns, he sets up his enemy to take more damage. A general combo people do is you land on somebody, throw your hammer, and then instantly put down your wall on them so they're stunned. Your hammer hits them as it comes back, and then you basic attack or spin to win to kill them. If you don't kill them, they're going to be hurt pretty bad, and maybe your teammates can pick them off instead. But that's really how you are with Thor, especially as a jungler, is you're ganking lanes with your ultimate aggressively, or maybe you save your ultimate to escape defensively. You also have teleport with your hammer for defensive moves, and of course a stun with a wall to do other things as well. So Thor has a lot of utility on him and a lot of power to get in and get out of good and bad situations. When it comes to team fighting, you might go in there and interrupt the enemy team with a stun with your ultimate, or you'll pop in, use the stun with your wall, do a bunch of damage, and get the heck out of there, because you are an assassin, you might get killed. But you can do little things here and there to help out your team. But for the most part, what you're really doing is picking off people when the fight's nearly over, or anyone separated from the group. Do that and you should do pretty well. Now, Ra is the first mage you get in the game, and he's pretty good at mid and solo, and most likely you should play him in mid so you can learn how to play the mid lane. And also, because he has 2 skill shots, you'll learn skill shots pretty well, which will help you with timing and such. And his heal makes him a fairly safe god. He also has a slow to keep his enemies off his back a little bit. He's just a very safe god, and a good learning god as well, so he'll serve you very well. Now in the mid lane, you're going to be doing a lot of clearing, a lot of fight back and forth, watching out for ganks from the left and the right. Should maybe get wards if you want to be defensive a little bit from getting ganked. And also you want to keep a handle on the mid furies that are on both sides of your lane. Keep control of those and you should be in a good position. Now Ra himself, his passive, he gives him more speed as he's using his abilities, up to 3 abilities used at a time. And so you're able to be kind of slippery as you're fighting. Then his 1 is a really good bread and butter clear. It's a skill shot that slowly moves in front of him. It's good for clearing lanes, and it's just good damage. His 2 It has a bit of a build-up time to it, and it explodes and does damage, but if these enemies are looking at him, they get blinded, and as they're near him, they get slowed as well. A very interesting ability there. Then there's his 3. This is a healing circle, the best heal in the game. You can hide in it and heal up and not be hurt too much with it. You can also aggressively push with it, healing your minions, hurting enemy minions with it. You can even fight in that circle and do a lot of damage. Like if you get ganked, you can always use that circle to save yourself. You can heal yourself as you're running away, or fight inside the circle and do pretty well with a fight. It's a very useful circle indeed. Then there's his ultimate, which is a pretty quick shot. Build-up takes a little bit of time, but it's a pretty quick shot. Does a lot of damage, shoots pretty far. You'll learn to use it very well, and you'll learn skill shots pretty well from it because you want to make sure you do not miss that shot. Something nice, of course, is it gives you CC immunity, which will help you if you want to use it to dodge certain ults. So it's very nice as well. Just think about your movements a little bit ahead of time, just placing your abilities at the right time and stuff, and you'll do really well with him. He's all about timing, but he also has a very simple clear, and he's very safe. So you should learn very well from him. And when it comes to team fights, just put down that heal for your teammates. They're going to heal a lot, they're going to be really hard to kill, your enemies are going to regret fighting you, and if you need to kill somebody, that snipe's going to be right there for you. Guan Yu is going to be the first warrior you get in the game, and I'm going to say Soul Lane, so you can learn how Soul Lane works with him. Warriors do pretty well there, and Guan Yu is no exception. He does have a bit of a rough beginning there, so I say at least get Hog 2 to help you out with clearing. And you just have a rough start. You clear eventually as you get longer into the game, but the start is just going to be a bit rough. With your jungle helping you out, you should be fine though. As the match goes on, you'll get stronger and stronger and stronger, and mid to late game, you're going to be a really strong force once you understand Guan Yu. Now his passive is called Conviction. The way this works is, as he's taking hits, it builds up this meter. And all the meter really does is it makes his first ability stronger. His first ability is just a heal, and if he heals teammates, it actually reduces his cooldowns by 2 seconds each time he does it. So that's very useful in getting your ultimate down, which we'll talk about later on. Now his second ability is a short dash forward. It does a good amount of damage. He's immune to knockbacks and cripples when he does it, so you can use that to escape a little bit, but it's better to be used aggressively, really. And you can just set someone up for your next ability, which is Talos Assault. This is your bread and butter damage. You hit an opponent like 10 times over 3 seconds. Every time you hit them, you take their armor away and give it to yourself. When Guan Yu hits an entire group of enemy gods with this ability, he's really hard to kill because of all the armor he's taking from his opponents. He can tie up an entire enemy team pretty well once he's built tanky because of this ability as well, because it just makes him harder to kill. Then there's his ultimate, where he rides a horse. Now, when you're on this horse, you can attack 5 times. You're hitting left click to do your attacks, and each time you hit with that left click, you are doing more damage. It just builds up as it goes. His 5th attack is when time runs out, and he just attacks as he dismounts, and it stuns anyone who's in the circle around him. So it's a really strong ability there. You can also hit right click to end it early to do your stun early on if you want to use the utility on that stun instead. Also, while you're riding that horse, you can hold S to slow down the horse's movements if you want to circle around and hit people. This is, of course, if S is the default, holding your movement back, obviously. Guan Yu is a very strong presence in teamfights. Like I said, his Talos Assault makes him hard to kill. He can heal up his teammates, which is very nice as well. That dash will just slow down opponents for his teammates. But also that horse will do a lot of damage. Just running around in the teamfight, hitting everybody, and then stunning them when it's over, can be really good for your team. Ymir is the first Guardian in the game you get, and he's a very simple god. He is very straightforward in how he's played. He does very well. And just because of how good he is, he's able to do every role except ADC, but you're going to play him support because he's just a really good support, and he's a good person to learn support with. As a support, your job is to well support. You help your ADC do very well, you help them try to get kills, you try to keep them alive, but also when their lane's pretty safe, you can go over to other lanes and gank and help them do better as well. Help them get kills. Your job is to help others get kills, not get kills yourself. You can get kills, but it's more important everyone else gets kills, because your level isn't that important, because your utility is very strong from the beginning, and that's what you're more about. Holding people down with utility or peeling them, so you just do really well regardless of your level. You're going to build pretty tanky as support, and you're going to be harder to kill as you go, and you'll just do a good job as long as you're holding down your enemies and putting them in bad spots for your teammates. Now when it comes to Ymir's abilities, first up is his passive. Now that passive, the way it works is when you hit people with damaging abilities, they're vulnerable to getting double damage from Ymir's basic attacks for the next like 2 or 3 seconds. Not bad there. It's good for finishing someone off or just weakening them for a teammate. Next is his wall. This wall is very useful. You can use this to cut people off. Like you can keep the enemy from attacking a teammate, or cutting off your enemies from each other so there's only 1 or 2 of them. while the other ones are behind a wall, so you can just gang up on 1 or 2 gods at a time, take them out. Now, his second ability is like a short-range carpet he does. It does really good damage, it also slows. If you need to use it for clear, you can. Then there's his third ability, which is his bread and butter. It's his freeze. It is a wide cone ability that does damage and freezes. The longest freeze in the game outside of ultimates. It's just really useful to use. And in that time while they're frozen, your teammates could kill somebody. It's very good. Then there's his ultimate, which is a channeling ultimate. You stay where you are for 3 seconds, and then you explode, doing a ton of damage. You can activate it early by hitting right-click, so you'll do less damage, but you can use it to kill someone if they're really low on HP. And also, during your ultimate channeling, the area around you is slow, so people will move a little bit slower as they're trying to run from you. You can use it as a zoning ability, you can use it to finish someone off, you can just do a lot of things with that ultimate in general. Now, the combo you want to use if you want to hurt someone badly is you freeze them, put down the carpet, put a wall behind them, and then do your ultimate. They're going to be badly slowed down, they're going to take a lot of damage from you, and your teammates can finish them off however they want. So what you want to do with Ymir is you want to separate enemies with a wall if you can, freeze them, hold them in place, slow them down even more with your carpet, use your ultimate to slow them down or just do a lot of damage, and either you'll kill them or someone else will, and it's going to be good for your team. Now, Neith is going to be the first hunter you get in the game, and you're going to play her in the ADC role. ADCs, the way they work is, you do a lot of farming the first half of the game, and you build up a lot of power, and the second half of the game you just kill everyone with your ridiculous power because you hit really, really, really hard. Now, the way you're going to do things with Neith is she has a lot of tricks going on with her, and just every ability just has a lot doing things. First up is your passive, which is a broken weave. You're going to see these little glowing things on the ground, and they appear when you do your escape or when an enemy dies, and you can take advantage of those things using your first and second abilities. Your first ability is a skill shot that can do damage and roots an enemy. And if you use it on a weave, it makes that weave explode into an AoE explosion that will root everything around it and do more damage. So if your enemy is near a weave and you hit it with your skill shot, it explodes and does a bunch of damage and will hurt your enemy and root them down to hit with basic attacks. Her second ability is an AoE damaging attack that heals her for the enemy she hits. I think it's only up to 3 targets, but still pretty good for healing yourself. If you use it on a weave as well, you get double healing. Also, if you hit an enemy god with AoE, they actually lose some of their attack speed for a short duration. So when you're fighting an enemy god one-on-one that also does basic attacks, hitting them with that will give you an edge in that fight. Her third ability is a backflip. You can use it as an escape, gets you pretty far away from your enemy. It also slows them down. Also, it creates a weave where you jumped from, so that you can make that weave, they're slowed down, and you can shoot a skill shot at the weave, blow it up, and do more damage to your opponent if you do it quick enough. It's pretty useful to do that. Then there's her ultimate, and this ultimate is a shot that doesn't exactly miss. What it is, it's an attack that as it charges up, it does more damage, but you can target any opponent on the screen as long as you can see them or a teammate can see them. It will shoot and it will go towards them. The only way to stop that arrow is for them to be dead before it gets to them or for an enemy god to run in the way of it. Whoever gets hit by that arrow will take whatever damage it does depending on how long you charge it up, and also it will stun them. So you can use this ultimate to kill someone who's low on HP or to hit them with a stun to set them up for yourself or teammates to beat up and finish off. There's just a lot you can do with her. Neith, like I said, has a lot going on with all of her skills. She has so many things she can do. She can root people, she can slow them down, she can slow down their attack speed, she can stun, she can just do a lot of damage in general. Neith can do so many things, and it takes a while to learn how to use them all. But when you do, you're going to be really, really scary. As far as team fights goes, like I said, late game you're going to be doing a lot of damage with like critical damage and just using your basic attack to just shred people. You can use your root to slow people down because you hold them in place for your teammates or yourself. Use your escape to get out of things or to slow down enemies or to set up a weave to do even more damage. You can slow down their attack speed with your AoE. There's just so much you can do with Neith. She is ridiculous, and you'll learn how it works as you go. In conclusion, there's a lot of information here for new players. I said a lot, but I left out a lot as well. I just want to say a lot of basic things to help a new player get better at these gods sooner. They just have a better idea of how to play them and play the game a little bit in general, so they just have a better start in the game. That's really the idea here. Share this with anyone new to the game, any of your buddies who are thinking about playing Smite. It'll give them a better idea of these gods so they have a smoother transition as they're playing this game. Because the first time you play this game can be a bit rough, and you never know, you might be running into a smurf. This information might help you deal with smurfs a little bit better. So there you go with that. So that is the guide right there. Share it with whoever you can that needs help with it. That's what it's about, helping people get better at the game. And there you go. I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun watching and listening, and that's what it's all about, isn't it? Having fun. Thanks for coming by, and see you next time.